In part one of this exam, we're given quarterly data on S&P 500 stocks for 2010 to 2019. We have these fields. First, we have to say what is the unit of observation in the data. So let's start by connecting to the data. We see we've got calendar date, ticker, name, sector, revenue, net income, market cap, and the stock price. Let's see how many records we have. We've got 20,292 records. We have some companies. Let's use ticker. For example, company A is there 43 times. Well, it's there 4 times in 2009. If we break it up into quarters, we see that each company appears there to be just once per quarter. Indeed, we have 20,292 marks, the same as the number of total records. That means that the unit of observation is ticker, year, quarter. Let's name this Q1. Oh, let's go to the next question. Oops. Create a visual informative table showing annual growth in profits for each sector in each year of the data. So let's put year on columns, let's put sector on rows, and let's put profit, net income into the table. So here, these are the levels. This is the sum of profit across all companies in each sector. So we need calculate what is the growth in profits. That's a prime example of a table calculation. For the table calculation, we want percent difference from across table. Fantastic. To make this table more informative, let's actually make the mark to be a square, and let's map color to it, and let's map net income with the table calculation to label. Some difference from across the table. And we actually see 2010, that was a pretty good year for corporate profits. We're recovering from the 2009 recession. 2019 looks very, very bad, but it is bad partly because in 2019, we only observe 3 quarters. Remember, our data ends in September 2019. So all the other years, they have 4 quarters of profits. In 2019, we only have 3 quarters of profits. So of course, 3 quarters of profits cannot be compared to 4 quarters of profits. And that's why we see this negative growth in profits between 2018 and 2019. All right, that's our question 2. We can do 2. What about the next question? The next question asks, what measure of a company valuation is price earnings ratio? And we're supposed to calculate average PE ratio for all the companies in the S&P 500, creating a time plot, so over time. And so let's do that. Let's do that in the next sheet. Calculate price ratio. So how do we calculate price ratio? So we certainly have price, we have net income, and we have a market capitalization, but we don't have earnings per share. But market cap is basically price times number of shares, and net income, total profit, is earnings per share times the number of shares. So if we divide market cap by net income, we're going to get price of the company divided by earnings per share. Okay, let's see, what is the average PE across all the years and all the companies? About 23. That's not what we're asked to do. We're asked to do a time plot. So let's use a continuous axis to plot the average PE ratio, and we see it fluctuates from around 20, shot up in Q2 2019. Now it's back down. We're supposed to compare that to the long-term average. So let's put in an average line. On average, it's about 23.11 today. As of 2019, it's really right near its long-term average. So price S&P 500 doesn't seem to be overvalued or undervalued. Remind you, this is in 2019. In question, the next question, let's duplicate this tab. We're supposed to add an aggregate measure of PE ratio because keep in mind, this is an average PE ratio for each year across the 500 companies. And so we're weighing those tiny little companies the same way as we weigh the big companies. So I want to calculate PE that's aggregate for the stock market as a whole, which means I want to take the sum of market cap on the total market value of all the companies and dividing it by their profits. And that's going to essentially create a weighted PE ratios where the bigger companies are weighted more heavily. Let's add that to the graph. Let's put them on the same axis. Let's synchronize the axes. Oops. And what do we see? Well, we see clearly that the aggregate PE ratio is around the same. It's really climbing over this time period. It's also more stable. That average PE ratio seems much more volatile because there may be some small companies that have pretty high fluctuations in their PE ratios. But when we look at the aggregate stock market as a whole, the PE ratio is more stable. Let's go to the next question. We're supposed to time plot stock price of the top 4 companies by average market cap over 2019. So let's do that. Let's take a price. Let's put it on rows. Take date. I'm making it continuous and quarterly. And let's put name on color. Sure, we can add all members, and that's going to be 500 or so companies, but we want to actually filter them by field. I'm going to take only, did I say top 4, by market cap, sum, okay, and indeed, I think we recognize these companies. That's Alphabet, Google, Apple, Microsoft, and Exxon. All right, well, the next question, let's duplicate this again, asks us to do the same thing, but not do it for the top 4 companies by market cap across the entire time period, but rather across market cap as of September 2019. So for that, we actually need a little helper sheet here where let's put the companies and their market cap in a table. And let's now filter just for September 2019. So let's include only September 2019 and now sort those companies by market cap. So here we will see which companies had the top 4, were the top 4 market cap companies in September 2019. And it's these 4. Apple, Microsoft, Alphabet, and Amazon. So we're going to create a set of these companies. There they are, all 4 of them. I'm going to call that set top 4 September 2019. And I'm going to use that as the filter when I plot the companies the top four companies as of September 2019. And that is Amazon, Alphabet, Apple, and Microsoft. All right, fantastic. So let's duplicate this sheet one more time, and and in the last question, in question 7, so let me actually rename this. Forgot renaming the others, but it's good for the sake of time. Let's not go back there. So Q7, we're supposed to create a different chart, a chart where each company actually starts at 100. So we rescale their actual stock price to a scaled stock price. So they all start at the same time, and we can actually track their relative performance from a common point. And so how can we do that? So we know the initial stock prices for Alphabet, that's 2002. For Amazon, it's 84. Microsoft, it's 19. Apple, it's 18. So we actually can create, just like when we rescaled salaries or movie grosses by CPI, we can rescale these by the initial value of the stock price in 2009. So I'm going to call this calculated field price scaled, and the rescaling needs to be different for different companies. So I'm going to use an if statement to do that. If the ticker is Google, then the price is going to be divided by the Google's initial price multiplied by 100. Similar for Apple, Microsoft, and Amazon. So I'm going to say OK to that, and let's replace price with price scaled, and there we go. And then we have those 4 stock prices starting at 100, and we can see how they move relative to each other. Okay, so this is really part 1. So we would then save this as a packaged workbook, and we're done with part 1 of the exam. Let's go to part 2. Let's connect to the CEO, top 200 CEOs, and let's see, what do we have to do here? In part 2 of the exam, we've got the ticker of a company, company name, CEO name, and the compensation and the year. And we have this data for 2 years, 2018 and 2019. So clearly they don't match. Oh, 2017, actually. So 17 and 18. How many observations do we have? Let's take a look. We've got 346. What is the unit of observation? Let's take the CEO name, and let's take a year. Let's convert the year to discrete so that we can see it nicely in the table. And indeed, this gives us 346 marks. So the unit of observation is CEO and year. Each CEO is there for just 1 year. Well, some of them are there for just one time, once per year. Some of them are there for 2 years. Some of them are there for just 1 year. Because sometimes they make it to the top 200 in both years. Sometimes they don't. Or they may have left their CEO post. Okay, so what's the first question? The first question asks us, sure, the unit of observation, how many CEOs? So we see we've got 198 CEOs. How many companies? Well, it looks like also 198 companies. I have 198 marks in a table where each row is a distinct company name. So so this could be really our answers to question. That's question 8. Let's go to question 9, where we're supposed to create a group dimension. So group dimension of group the CEO names into males and females. So we have a create group, and how many females do we have? We have Jill Solkow. So let's actually find, all right, find Sol Tao. All right, and there she is. So let's highlight her. Let's put her in female. Excellent. So right now she's the only member of that female group. Let's find the next one, Laura Aber, and let's add her to the female group. Next one is Marilyn Hewson. Let's add her to female group. And next one is Mary Barra, GM, Barra. Where is she? Mary Barra. I'm gonna add her to female. Did I add Houston? I don't think I added Houston, so let's do Houston. Again, Marilyn Houston, add to female. And there's two more. Novakovic, we're gonna add to female. This is a little tedious here, but we'll do it. And Rometi from IBM, we add to female. And so what do we have? We've got all here are the female CEOs. Let's group everybody else. So the guys here at the top, and they are guys. We're gonna group them, call them male, and everyone below these females, like John Wren, is gonna be added to the male group. Okay, and so let's actually rename that group. I'm gonna call it female versus male. Okay, fantastic. Female versus male. So let's see, let's make sure that we didn't forget anybody. Yes, we've got 11 females. Well, this is by year, right? So we got 6 females in 2018, 192 males in also in 2018. Okay, fantastic. What we're supposed to do is calculate average compensation. So we're going to take compensation, and let's actually put that in the table. Average compensation. So let's change that to average. And actually, you know what? Let's make that a bar. I don't think we're asked to do it by year. We're just asked to do it male by female. Create a bar chart showing the difference between average salary of a female CEO over the 2 years compared to that of male CEO. So we've got 27 million average compensation for male, 20 million for average compensation for females. Okay, fantastic. So this is question 9. Okay, I'll just rename that Q9. Let's go to question 10. Okay, so in question 10, we're supposed to join the S&P 500 data. So we're going to go to data source. We're going to break this CEO table open, and we're going to find our S&P data. Here it is, S&P stocks for exam, and we're going to drag it into the canvas, and it's offering us a join. Actually, it's offering us an join, and it recognizes that there's a ticker in both data sets, and that we should join on ticker. But let's take a look at how that works. So here's a ticker. Here's Xerox. CEO was John Vicentin. And we have his compensation for 2018, and we have his compensation probably for 2017. but now it's also joining it for his revenue and net income, S&P 500 for calendar date 2019 and 2015 and 2011, but we don't have a compensation for those years. So if we want to really join the data, the one data is by ticker and quarter. The other one is just by ticker and year. So we can't join them just by ticker. We need to join them on another level. We need the compensation that they earned in 2018 to be lined up with the company performance in 2018, and the compensation they earned in 2017 lined up with the company performance in 2017. So we're going to add an additional level on which an additional field on which those two data sets need to be joined, and that's going to be a year. Because in the S&P 500, we don't have just plain old year. We need to create a year out of calendar date. And we'll say OK to that. Oh, and that certainly gives us a little different data set. Now we don't have 2019 for Xerox, and we shouldn't have 2019 for Xerox because we don't have compensation for Xerox's CEO in 2019. Okay, so then we're told to keep only companies and years that appear in both data sets. So we select inner join. Fantastic. All right, so let's go to the next question. That's question 11. Examine your chart from question 9, and is the answer still the same? Oh, look, now the answer is different. Remember before we had a female CEO earning 20 million and male CEOs earning 27 million. Now that chart has changed. Why did it change? It changed, of course, because now we have a different set of companies. Before we had companies that were in that top 200 list. Now we have only companies that were in that top 200 list and are also part of the S&P 500. Okay, fantastic. And the last question asks, well, suppose that you kept all of the CEO observations while joining the S&P 500. So what do we mean by that? So I think what we mean by that is if we, instead of using an inner join, we used a left join. So we actually would keep all the CEOs in the data set. In the CEO data set, and only added information for companies that are both in the CEO data set and the S&P 500 data set. Well, would our answer change? Well, it changed a little bit. So it's now we have males earning 22 and females earning 20. So that's another answer to the difference between men and women. And so this time we're using all of the data from the CEO data set, but we're not getting the same answer that we got when we initially calculated the difference between men and women. And why is that? It's because when we joined the S&P 500, we changed the level of granularity of the data set for companies and CEOs that belong to the S&P 500, like John Vicentin. In 2018, he actually appears in the data set in 2018 4 times. 4 times because we got 4 quarters for Xerox. And if I have a CEO who is not in the S&P 500, then that CEO would appear there only once. So clearly, if we use the left join, we're not making the correct comparison between men and women, because some CEOs are in the data set 4 times per year, others are only once per year. And so that's the answer to question 12. So I'm going to stop here. Certainly, this was a pretty quick. Let's make sure to look at the actual workbook, read through the exams, and if you have any questions, just let me know.